Quick question. So, Alamo Montemayor, Alamo Sierra Club, and of course you've been watching the fires as we all have. And what were the thoughts that first struck you with the knowledge and background you have?
Well, first of all, the built environment that we have created for ourselves is somewhat fragile. Okay, we like to think that just because we build a beautiful home, that it's isolated from everything around it, and of course that's not the case. Mm-hmm. It is the plants that we plant close to our homes, it's the flammability of the neighboring house, it's the car that's in our driveway that's going to spill fuel and become a source for ignition. That is all goes into the formula associated with how safe is our home. And it's not just fire. It's wind damage, it's hail, it's rising water, it's floods. Everything around us affects how safe our home is going to be ultimately. And it takes a great deal of design to really compensate for what everybody else is doing around you.
So what lack of design do you see in Los Angeles in the neighborhoods that are burning, that are causing such destruction? Do you think it could have been mitigated, or?
Yes. The houses that survived in Los Angeles had a great deal of design work go into them. They put a area around the house that was completely non-flammable, a safety zone, if you will. They installed metal roofs. They kept overhangs on the homes to a minimum. They distanced any approach of any flammable object from their homes, such as garbage cans or vehicles. There was a huge number of things that people did do right in the homes that survived. Unfortunately, that's not what all architects do nowadays. They build more for appearance or for convenience rather than for survivability. And the insurance industry is starting to hurt as a result of this. In many areas of the country, you're not going to be able to get house insurance because of the threats from fire, wind, rising water, climate change, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. And so in Los Angeles, they did have significant rainfall, I think, in February. However, they haven't had much rainfall since. So if people rebuild and decide to stay out there, could they risk being trapped in another wildfire like they are right now?
So with climate change happening, we are going to see weather extremes of all kinds. We are certainly experiencing drought here in Texas and in many areas of the country. That exacerbates the issue with all the flammable plants and structures, et cetera. We're going to see higher winds, as we've seen in California. We are going to see extremes of rainfall sometimes causing flooding issues. We're going to see extreme hailstorms. What I liken this to is a bathtub that all of us float in our little boat of technology. And we're used to relatively calm waters and things. And as we pump more energy into the environment through global warming and climate change, that water heats up and the waves on that surface become higher. And some of these boats begin to tip precariously. And some of them that are too close to the water, they sink. So that's really what's happening in our society, is that we're seeing...
If I could specify just LA specifically, because that's how I'm going to label this interview, is LA and the droughts. So what angers me about climate activists, they start screaming right away. They're so charged, and they start screaming about climate change, but they don't bother to directly link climate change to wildfires. They scream about oil drilling, but they don't say simply how is oil drilling causing wildfires in Los Angeles, and if you could make those links.
Boy, that's a tough one, in a few words. So anytime you put a large number of people very close together in an urban environment, and have all the interactions between those people and the environment, if the environment decides to go astray for any reason, whether that's a mudslide, a fire, a windstorm, whatever, there's going to be collateral damage. Climate change right now is pumping more energy into the environment. Okay, we're having warmer oceans. We are having more energy in the atmosphere as well. That is directly proportional to how bad these weather extremes are going to be.
So it's a big picture, disasters all over the place, and the fires are one of them.
Yeah, as I said, we're used to a relatively placid environment that's low energy. As you pump more energy into that environment, you will have these extremes. Okay, it certainly is that temperatures are getting hotter in some areas, but it may also be that they're getting colder in other areas. And any extreme, when we are on these technological knife edges, if you will, okay. We like to think that technology provides us stability, but in reality that technology is relatively precarious. If the power grid goes down, such as an electromagnetic pulse attack by an enemy or something like that, it'll have profound effects on society.
Okay, so to clarify, it's a lack of rainfall. Lack of rainfall is from the climate change, and then the drought there's tinder because it's dry, and then the winds come in and they're very ferocious now because of climate change, and then that's the combustion starting.
Yes, all you really need to do to topple society is to have the environment go awry in any one of multiple directions. Okay. In San Antonio, we had the snowpocalypse where it froze and our electric grid began to go down. We could have a brownout in the summer because it got too hot. We could have a tornado come through and wipe out a huge swath of businesses, et cetera. Anytime you have technology that is dependent on the existing conditions to maintain that technology, it's going to be difficult. We don't necessarily have the resilience built into our systems that we need.
And also developers, to earn more money, squeeze houses so close together. Even in a vast state like Texas, and then much easier for the fire to jump.
Not only is that true, but the issue of the materials of construction come into play.
Right.
Because developers really want to build a cookie-cutter home using the least expensive materials, and they want to build it in a way that's quick. So they typically will go in and scrape all the trees off of a landscape before they pour a foundation, because they want easy, quick access. Without those trees, we have hotter temperatures, we have urban heat island effect. They want to put in impervious cover. They want to put in an irrigation system to make it easy to maintain. So all of those choices up front is really what's happened in Los Angeles for the past 100 years.
Because Americans build with timber and Europeans build with cement and brick.
Well, Europeans typically build for the long run, and
Yes.
Americans build relatively short-term structures.
Would cement and brick structures go up as quickly? I mean, I know there are wildfires in Greece and they have cement homes, but is that a point of contention? No.
So many areas of the country build with more durable products, including cement, stucco, natural stone, et cetera.
And they're less fire.
Those are less prone
Yeah.
to fire damage initially. There can be problems associated with those also if you're in an earthquake zone.
Yeah,
Let's say. So Los Angeles has the very difficult situation of having the Santa Ana winds, of having fire sweep down from the hills, of having potential large rains or drought. I mean, it's.
And it's not the end of the story for them out there, though, in terms of wildfires.
There's a great book called The Control of Nature by John McPhee, which you may want to reference in your article, but it'd be well worth reading because it talks about wildfires in Los Angeles basin, as a matter of fact, and several other areas. But yeah, it's the way civilization has handled building is probably going to have to change in the future to compensate for climate change.